On this episode of Northwest Outdoors, first take a scenic ride down the Skagit River in northwest Washington state. It's the beginning of the annual bald eagle migration.
Preserves in the lower 48 state, and this is the largest migration of bald eagles in the lower 48.
Visit with Ellensburg Washington artist Clair Hurrey, who likes to go to the source for her inspiration.
Start my paintings outside from beginning to end.
Also, the foothills near Leavenworth, Washington are perfect for mountain bikers. Get some tips on handling the tough terrain. Plus, get a great recipe for baking salmon with pesto. This is your Northwest Outdoors.
Funding for Northwest Outdoors is made possible in part by Kershaw Knives of Portland, Oregon, makers of precision tools and cutlery. Kershaw Knives strongly supports outdoor programming as well as responsible outdoor activities throughout the Pacific Northwest. And by Subaru, engineered and designed for all types of activities in the great outdoors. Subaru believes that enjoyment of the Pacific Northwest should be available to everyone. And by Alltrek.com. Alltrek provides high-performance clothing and gear for every outdoor experience, including paddling, camping, hiking, climbing, and more. Information can be found online at Alltrek.com. And by Energy Northwest, providing electricity for the Pacific Northwest today and for our future. You too can help provide electricity for our future by reducing your use of electricity today. Remember, conserve whenever possible.
When the snow begins to pile up on the mountain ranges in the northwest corner of Washington state, residents here know that winter is on their doorstep. This is early December in the foothills of the North Cascades National Park and the Glacier Peak Wilderness area. During the months of December, January, and February, when winter settles in, the Skagit River near the towns of Marble Mount and Rockport become abuzz with sightseers and tourists. The reason that most people travel here in the middle of winter is to search out and watch a bird. These birds average 9 pounds and are 3 feet tall and can have a wingspan of up to 7.5 feet. The American bald eagle migrates here from British Columbia and Alaska each year to winter, feed, and roost. With upwards of 350 eagles counted each week, this has become the largest concentration of these giant creatures in the lower 48 states. This annual migration has turned into a tourist boon. Besides the annual Skagit Bald Eagle Festival held in February, many rafting companies have set up business.
And while we're going down the river today, when we look in the trees, we either look for a whitehead or immature eagles blend in with the tree trunk. So you look for a big shape, a dark shape that doesn't belong, and that's 99% of the time is an eagle.
Northwest Outdoors is here with Alpine Adventures and their partner Chinook Expeditions for a float down the Skagit and to get a closer look at our national bird.
The best days to see eagles are the rainiest, most miserable days. That's when they're all just roosting in the trees. They roost together, so you might count 7 or 8 on one branch. And they do that for warmth also. The bald eagles come to the Skagit River in the wintertime to winter here. They're down here to feed, and they roost. Where they come from originally is a hard winter up there, snow or however, bad weather. And so they come down here to the Skagit River and the Skagit Valley to winter.
Quebec has been guiding customers down the Skagit during the migration for over a decade now, and he knows why people come here to see these majestic birds.
The eagle is our national bird, and that's very nice to get people out to experience wildlife and nature, and to see our national bird in its natural surroundings. I've taken people down the river in their 90s before that they've seen pictures of bald eagles and never have seen one up live, and boy, those are the most rewarding and enjoyable days, to get people out to experience nature like that they've lived around. Or even my friends in the valley see eagles every year. They don't ever do a float trip, and then I've taken them on float trips, and it's like, wow, I've never seen the river like this, and I've lived here all my life. So, give people a different perspective on things and on life, and have everybody, forget the city and just become one with nature and relax. And
like Quebec, river guide Jeff Weiss knows this area and the river very well.
This part of the river is the Bald Eagle Sanctuary, which is federally protected with Forest Service, National Park, and Natural Conservancy. And it's the largest migration of bald eagles in the lower 48 states. And mainly the reason is that this river's been here for so long. Through the last couple ice ages, this river's been flowing out to the Puget Sound and out to the Pacific. And over time, these mountains have actually risen up from the river. When this used to be a high plateau, the Skagit River was still flowing out to the Puget Sound and to the Pacific Ocean. So these salmon have been here for a really long time before anything else survived. This river survived the last couple ice ages.
How many eagles are in the area?
Well, we get about 800 coming in from Alaska and British Columbia, Idaho, Montana, all here to partake in the salmon spawning season. We have about 10 pairs of bald eagles that stay here year-round.
He's checking us out.
The American bald eagle is certainly a fascinating bird, and on this eco tour you'll find out things like they nest for life.
Their claws, when they grab a fish, they lock. And so when they pick that fish up and fly away, their claws are locked and they won't drop it. On the off chance that the fish is too eager for the bird, they'll have to set it back down. This is a Skagit River chum salmon, and this is what the eagles eat in the wintertime. Besides other salmon species, this is the main one right now. That ought to be a good meal for some birds. That's an immature eagle. 4 to 5 years they mature and they get the white head and white tails. They mate for life. Even if one eagle is mature and they pick an immature mate, they'll still stay together for life. An eagle's eyesight, they can see a rabbit from 4 miles away in a field.
The Skagit River and the annual migration of the majestic bald eagle is unique to very few areas in the U.S. With sightings around every corner, this float is truly a wildlife spectacle. These floats only last about 2 to 3 hours, and at the end of a cold float, everyone looks forward to the hot meal waiting at the takeout point.
Does chili warm you up?
This next segment takes the Northwest Outdoors cameras to Ellensburg in the center of Washington State. Here, the landscape is constantly changing. The colors of autumn, the majestic look of winter, the freshness of spring, and the cascade of colors in summer are all special in this part of the Pacific Northwest. Many artists try to make a living capturing these shifting scenes on canvas, but few do it as uniquely as Ellensburg artist Clair Hurrey. With a wagon full of paint and canvas in hand, Hurrey spends her time in the woods, capturing special scenes with thick oil paint, and the result is different every time.
And this is Yellow X that I'm working on now because of the leaves. And it's right in here. I choose to paint in the outdoors because, as opposed to just in the studio, because I feel that I want to connect to something other than myself. So what I do is I start my paintings outside from beginning to end, and I paint them in the same spot, in the place, so that I am connected to the place, and I feel that what I am doing is transcribing in paint on my canvas my connection and my experience, my relationship to the place I am in. And that it is not just one way, but that these places connect to me as well. And that I am, in some respects, I suppose, an instrument to record that connection.
This artist not only strives to connect with the outdoors, but also hopes her viewers will as well.
The goals that I'm trying to achieve in my paintings are that when someone sees them, they will be able to hear the wind and feel the wind, hear the river, see the colors, experience the place, that they may be transported in some way. The way that I select a spot to paint is I let the spot select me, really. I go walking, I'm driving sometimes, and something will strike me. There is a visual echo, a visual resonance. There is a brightness that stands out from all the other places, and I get curious, and I go to that place and I stand there for a while. And in standing there, I communicate with the place, and maybe it makes an impression on me that, in a sense, I suppose that it's welcoming me to paint it.
When Hurrey does hear the call to paint, she has to be ready, especially painting outside in all types of weather.
In the winter, I have snowshoes that I use so that I don't sink when the snow gets too deep. And I have a saucer sled instead of my wagon. I can paint in the rain with oil paints because it doesn't bother the oil as long as it's not a torrential pouring. But the wind, when it whips, is impossible because my canvas has become like a sail. I usually have 3 pairs of gloves of various thicknesses and warmth, and so that I can rotate them, because I often paint for 5-hour stretches, especially if I travel somewhere. I might even paint for 7.
Hurrey usually paints on a large canvas, giving the sense of being at that location. Using many layers of paint, she strives for a more 3-dimensional effect. With her work in galleries around the Northwest, this artist is able to bring the outdoors to the indoors in a unique way.
If I were to name them, I would say they are concentrated time. And they are concentrated time in nature, painted outside, on site.
This is the foothills outside the small mountain community of Leavenworth, Washington. Outdoor recreation here is big. Snowshoeing, hiking, skiing, and biking are all popular activities. With long winding downhill trails to ride and the introduction of high-tech equipment, off-road mountain biking is becoming the hot ticket to fun and outdoor adventure. With many accessible trails, riders don't need to go far to find beginning as well as advanced mountain terrain.
with James Munley and Christine Hahn of Das Rathaus, and we're in the Leavenworth, Washington area mountain biking. James, if you could talk to us a little bit about the trail we're going to be riding and the type of terrain.
Today's trail we're going to ride is the Freund Canyon Loop. It's a lot of fun. It's a pretty good climb up. It's a little under 1,800 foot climb, so that kind of separates it a little bit from being a total intermediate trail, makes it a little more advanced. But it's a lot of fun, a super smooth, buff downhill. It's a lot of fun.
Good. Well, let's ride.
That's right.
This trail stretches from the mountaintop and winds through the forest and ends up on the edge of town. The top looks easy, but the real challenge is only a few hundred feet away. From here, it's straight downhill.
Like any trail, you want to make sure you know what you're getting yourself into and be able to hit it slow and roll right over like Christine here. Or if you've never seen it before, make sure you just come on up, go right around and check the obstacle out. Make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. The beauty of off-road mountain biking is that it's a little smooth and technical at times, and you just got to know when to say when.
Expert riders like Munley and Hahn know the right way to handle these trails.
Yeah!
Okay, so we're rolling along here, trying to stand up and keep our balance, our weight centered, if not a little bit back. Skidding does not help you here, so you want to stay in control and go slow. And to keep from skidding, skidding is erosive to the trail and means you're losing control and traction.
James, there are a number of obstacles here. Right now we've got a log that Christine's going to ride over. What do we need to do to prepare to help her as far as spotting, or what does a biker need to do to be able to maintain a nice ride across the log?
Well, the technique for riding down or any obstacle like this is you want to keep your eye and visual on the beginning of the log, and then once you get up onto the obstacle, look to the very end, and once you get halfway down the stunt, you want to look 50 feet past. That keeps your eyes looking downstream, your body's going to go downstream. If you stop and go slow and look down at the log, you'll go slow and you'll tip over for sure.
Woo! Nice!
Good, nice technique, Christine.
That's
Good
beautiful.
form. That's going to be a tough one.
Yep, you're good, you're good.
With the popularity of mountain biking on the rise, there are some things to consider in order for the trails to be safe for everyone.
This is a good time for us to stop and talk about trail etiquette while mountain biking.
Yeah, there's a few rules that IMBA, the International Mountain Bike Association, has put out there. And the first of those is to ride only on open trails. If a trail is posted closed to bicycles or closed at all, you really want to respect that and stay off that trail. Second is to stay in control of your bicycle. Make sure your brakes are working really well. Make sure you've got good balance, and just to generally be in control.
That takes us into yield on the trail. You want to yield to horses, hikers, possibly even motorbike riders, and what you want to do is just pull off, give them a chance to pass, say hello, let them know that everybody's out there enjoying the trail. So just slow down and take the time to stop.
The next one would be not to scare the animals, whether it's a horse, a fox, a bird, another dog. You don't want to chase the animals off the trail. We want to try and respect that we're riding through their home.
That includes deer, other animals that also share in the environment, which takes us into leave no trace. You want to stay on those trails. You want to make sure you're not skidding out, leaving marks, riding over other plants. Stay on the maintained trails.
Yep, and you also really want to be prepared when you go on a ride. If you're riding in the mountains, it's always a good idea to bring a light jacket. On any ride, you want to have a spare tube, a pump, some basic tools so you can fix a flat or fix any minor things that might happen while you're out on the trail. And just always be prepared.
Sounds good.
This show ends with a visit to the seafood school in Astoria, Oregon. Here's a great way to prepare salmon with pesto.
We're here at the Astoria Seafood School with Eric Jenkins, head chef and master of culinary arts.
Well, thank you, Hobart.
And you're going to cook something for us.
We are. We're going to cook some salmon today.
Salmon.
It was some beautiful Youngs Bay local Chinook salmon.
Now, I have to stop right here and ask you, what makes Youngs Bay salmon so special?
Just flavor and freshness. It's comparable to Copper River, in my opinion.
Okay, so this fish that we're now getting here locally, flavor and texture-wise, is comparable with fish from Alaska and fresher because we don't have to ship it that far.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, show me what you're going to do with Youngs Bay Chinook salmon.
First, we're going to take some pesto that you can buy prepared in the grocery store ahead of time, and we're going to put that in a bowl, and we're going to add some mayonnaise to it.
Going to put some mayonnaise in?
Yeah, about 3 to 1 mayonnaise to pesto.
Okay.
Okay. And then we're just going to mix it up real good.
Now you really mix compared to these guys that touch and feel and the other. I like that. That's a manly way to mix.
If you're going to do it right.
That's right.
That's my motto. Okay, so simple enough. Huh?
Very good.
Okay, we're going to take a baking pan here, and I'm just going to put a little bit of olive oil in the bottom of the pan and spread it around with my fingers. I'm going to take the salmon here, lay it in that.
Okay.
Okay. Then I'm just going to take some of this pesto mixture and top it over the salmon. And if you really like pesto, you can put a lot on, but I usually just put enough to kind of cover the top of it. Still like to show a little pink around the edges, kind of a nice contrast of colors.
And it won't melt and cover the whole thing either.
No, no. And then I'm going to take some Parmesan cheese and sprinkle that on. And lastly, I have just some seasoned dried breadcrumbs.
What are you using in the secret seasoned breadcrumbs?
There's basil, oregano, garlic, paprika, a little black pepper, parsley, pretty much whatever you like.
Okay, seasoned to taste breadcrumbs.
Seasoned to taste the way you like it. And then we're going to bake it for about 10 minutes for this size piece of filet at 350. And if I could have you put it in the oven for me,
I'm gone.
We'll get her going.
How long was that in the oven, Eric?
About 9 minutes, so anywhere between 8 and 10, roughly.
Okay, looks great.
Well, let's put it on a plate so you can try a piece, Hobart.
Love coming here because I get to eat all the good food and sample new recipes. It's fun.
Well, good.
See, is it perfect?
Salmon with pesto is certainly an easy recipe. Here are the ingredients for you to try this dish at home.
I take it you like it.
Go online to northwestoutdoors.org and learn more about this show, episode 1512.
I've got it
on the next Northwest Outdoors, head to North Central Oregon to fish for steelhead on the John Day River.
Steelhead is what we came after.
This fish is running probably right around 26, 27 inches maybe.
Pretty, real nice
beautiful fish.
Rooster! Also near the John Day is some fantastic pheasant hunting.
You'd have to go to North Dakota or back in that country to see birds like this anymore. This is really spectacular.
That's on the next Northwest Outdoors. To round out this show, here's a scene from a roadside field in central Washington, where starlings decided to gather in numbers.
Funding for Northwest Outdoors is made possible in part by Kershaw Knives of Portland, Oregon, makers of precision tools and cutlery. Kershaw Knives strongly supports outdoor programming as well as responsible outdoor activities.